this video we are diving into the switches module and how it works with the sequencer module. So what's the deal with the switches? Think of the switches module as a traffic controller for your signals. Okay, so that's our sequencer patch done. Now, what if I wanted to run all 24 steps on the sequencer in one go? So when this row finishes, it would switch to the middle one and then to the last one. And on this step, it will go back to the first one. So we would just actually cycle through all 24 steps. Now let's add another sequencer. I'm typing sec3. And let's copy this quantizer so everything stays in tune. And let's add another VCO. You can add our usual VCO, or if you downloaded some new ones, you can actually experiment and use a different VCO. For example, let me go with this one. It's a wavetable VCO from Surge XT, and we would patch this from CV1 to our volt per octave, and then, as usual, from the volt per octave to the quantizer. And then the channel will go into our mix, like so. Let's actually mute the second channel so we only get these two. And so in this setup, by default we would only get the first channel playing. Let's quickly change these steps. And as by default, the CV1 outputs just this row. Let me change this preset to something else. Let's say this one, and the frequency is 356, so let's match this. Let's make it louder on the mixer. I'm going to adjust these a bit to my taste. Feel free to explore different VCOs and presets. And remember, your pitch control is the volt per octave input. So right now, we only have the CV1 output from this first channel coming into the quantizer, and the quantizer to our oscillator. So it only plays the first row. So as I said, I wanted it to play all 3 rows. So let's get something called switches. And I'm going to go with this one for 2-1 sequential switch. Like this. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this before the quantizer. And I'm going to run these CV outputs into the 3 inputs here, and the out is going to the quantizer. So what this will do, it will actually switch between different channels. So let's adjust this a bit. By the way, the switches modules has many uses outside of the sequencer. You can use it anytime you need to switch between signal. And there is also a 1 to 4 sequential switches module available. Now by default this is set to 4 steps, so I'm going to set it to 3 steps because we only have 3 inputs, we use 3, and it will omit the last one. But I also need a trigger, right? So right here where it says trigger, I need this to be patched so that it knows when to switch to the next channel. As you can see right now, it only plays the first channel because there is no trigger to tell it to switch to the next one. So you probably think, okay, trigger, let's get the trigger output from this trigger output on the sequencer. So let's see what would happen if we did this. As you remember, by default this is a trigger. And do you see what's happening? The trigger actually outputs each step as a trigger. Unless I switch it off. And this is not exactly what we want. We actually want this channel to switch to the last step. So what I need is only the last step of each row. So when it goes to the last step, it will switch to the next channel. There is a little light that comes on. And now it's the last channel playing and back to our first one. So with every 8th step triggered, the switch is activated to the next channel. There is also a reset button, and what this will do, no matter which input on the switches is currently active, it will go back to the beginning to sort of our first step, or whatever we have patched in. I could also just do 2 channels if I wanted to, and this will ignore the 3rd one. I can do 4th if I patch something else into here, but we have 3, so let's stay with the 3 channels. So now this enables us to actually cycle between all 3 channels. But, you know, this sounds a bit boring to me. I don't want to go to sleep just yet, so let's actually get a clock. I'm going with this module called Clocked. And I'm going to run the 2 sequences at different speeds. I'll get this clock to run at 120 BPM. But this module also has ratios. So if it says 1, then it's 120 BPM or whatever the BPM says. But then I can actually get different ratios from it. For example, I can double it, I can halve it, and so on. So let's say I want the sequences to run at twice the speed of this first one, so I'm going to patch the clock to output into the second sequencer clock, and I'm going to double the speed on here, and you can hear it already runs faster. Let's make this louder. This is cool. Now we have a spare LFO, so I can use it to add some color to this patch. And let's go with some modulation on the VCO. Let me open this attenuator a bit. Like so. And let's reduce the frequency on the LFO. So now the modulation effect is slower. So with this wavetable VCO, we can actually change the waveform shapes, we can morph waveforms, and it's really cool for achieving different modulation effects just within the VCO. And let's look what other presets we have here. And this is cool, but maybe reduce the speed. Now I'm going to spend some time adjusting the sound to my taste. This is the essence of modular synthesis. There is no one correct way for achieving certain outcomes, and although synthesis is a complex topic, when you really take the time to learn the basics and not only understand what different modules do, but also why they do it, then you unlock the entire universe of creative sound design. So let's listen to how this patch unfolds.